So, what if I told you that a local garbage problem somehow spiraled into a full-blown international trade war, and the secret weapon to solve it wasn't some new treaty, but a smartphone app? Yeah. Let's dive into this wild story of how some seriously high-tech thinking is being used to deal with a very messy, very real conflict happening right on our border.
It sounds like a joke, right? Can garbage actually start a trade war? Well, the answer is a big, loud yes. And this isn't some hypothetical scenario I'm throwing at you. This is a real geopolitical flashpoint that pushed two friendly countries to the edge, all over the stuff we throw away without a second thought.
To really get your head around this, you have to start with the sheer scale of the problem. Every single year, a mind-boggling 3.46 million tons of just regular old municipal solid waste gets shipped from Ontario, Canada, and buried in landfills in Michigan.
I mean, think about that for a second. That's a convoy of 100,000 trucks a year rolling across the border. They're not carrying car parts or lumber. They're carrying trash.
So why? What created this insane situation? This tiny number right here. For years, the fee to dump a ton of trash in Michigan was just 36 cents. It created this massive economic pull, this irresistible Michigan lure that made it way cheaper for Ontario to just ship its garbage away than to handle it at home.
For decades, this was just the weird, dysfunctional way things worked. But then, as we're about to see, political pressures cranked up, and this quiet arrangement blew up into an all-out trash war.
And things escalated fast. A Supreme Court case from way back in '92 had kept the border open to this flow. But by 2025, the mood had totally changed. The U.S. administration found this clever little loophole they called the transshipment trap. Basically, they argued that since Canadian trash might have stuff in it that was made in, say, China, it wasn't technically 100% Canadian, so they could slap tariffs on it. At the exact same time, Michigan's governor tried to shut the door from her side with a huge tax hike. The free ride was over.
So this crisis created a ton of panic, but it also lit a fire under some innovators. A company called 905 Wood saw this as a chance not just to survive the chaos, but to completely change the entire game.
This quote right here really nails their whole philosophy. This isn't about just finding a new place to dump stuff. No, it's about changing the very idea of what waste is, using tech to turn this huge, costly physical problem into a valuable, verifiable digital asset.
So what in the world is a digital refinery? Don't picture a giant building with smokestacks. It's not a place. It's a process. It's a system that takes something messy and chaotic, like a bin of scrap wood, and uses AI and sensors to boil it down to its purest, most valuable form: clean, verifiable data.
All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty. How does this system actually work in the real world? On a muddy, loud construction site? Well, it all starts with a piece of hardware that's going to surprise you.
They don't use some super expensive, custom-built industrial scanner. They use a smartphone, a regular Google Pixel 10 Pro, the same kind you could go out and buy. And why? Well, because the chip inside, the Tensor G5, is amazing at managing heat. It can run these really complex AI programs for a full 8-hour workday, outside, in the sun, without melting down. That thermal stability makes it the perfect, surprisingly simple tool for a really tough job.
The whole thing is a 3-stage data pipeline. First, out on the job site, a driver just scans the pile of wood. The AI on the phone figures out what it is in less than 2 seconds and locks in the GPS location. Done. Second, that wood goes to a central hub where X-ray sensors do a deep scan, hunting for nasty hidden chemicals like arsenic from treated wood. And finally, a really powerful AI acts like a super-fast legal analyst. It takes all that sensor data and instantly cross-references it with pages and pages of complex environmental regulations, automatically kicking out the perfect error-free compliance documents. Now, all this tech is incredibly cool, but it's worthless if there isn't a strong financial reason to use it. So the really critical piece is how 95 Wood uses all this data to make doing the right thing the most profitable thing.
So, under the old system, if you had a bin of mixed, unsorted wood waste, you got hit with a penalty. A painful one, too. A levy of about $60 for every ton because you didn't follow the recycling rules.
But with the digital refinery, if that on-site AI scan proves you sorted your wood correctly, that $60 levy, poof, it instantly drops to zero. The app's user interface literally just crosses the fee right off your invoice, right then and there.
And this whole thing works because of a brilliant trick called decoupled billing. It splits the bill in two. Here's what you pay for the truck, And here's what you pay for environmental fines. So the second a worker on site does the right thing and sorts the wood, they see that reward immediately on their phone. The $60 fee just vanishes. It's a simple idea, but it's a genius way to gamify environmental compliance.
So, is this the silver bullet? The perfect solution? Well, not everyone is convinced. There's a very real debate going on about whether this whole high-tech system is a true revolution or just a very fragile, risky gamble.
And this really gets to the heart of the debate. On one side, you have the advocates who say this is a necessary evolution, the only way forward to turn a massive liability into a data-backed asset. But on the other side, you have the skeptics. They hear a lot of Silicon Valley buzzwords, and they worry about that old saying, garbage in, garbage out. You know, what if the driver scans the wrong pile? What if the AI gets it wrong? They argue that this whole elaborate system rests on that very first scan being perfect, creating this high-wire act that might just give everyone a false sense of security.
All of this complex tech, the AI, the sensors, the billing, it all leads to one final critical document. And this is where the design gets really, really smart in a totally counterintuitive way.
You know, in an age of beautiful, sleek apps and colorful dashboards, the people who built this system did the exact opposite. They intentionally designed their final report to be, well, ugly. Just stark, high contrast, black and white.
And this move is absolutely brilliant. It's based on a concept they call industrial legibility. They knew their end user wasn't a CEO looking at a pretty chart. No, it's a border guard trying to read a piece of paper in the glaring sun on the side of a highway, or an auditor in some dusty back office with a printer from 1998. The design is all about maximum clarity in the worst possible conditions. It's even optimized to be sent by a fax machine. A fax machine!
This simple-looking paper is called the Digital Product Passport, and it is basically a fortress of data. It uses cryptography to lock in every single data point, the GPS coordinates, the AI's classification, the chemical scan results, everything. It creates a totally unbreakable chain of custody. This document is the weapon that beats the trade war. It's the bulletproof evidence that proves this load is 100% wholly obtained Canadian wood, letting it sail right past those tariffs.
It all comes down to this really fascinating final question. We just walked through an incredibly complex system. We're talking AI, advanced hardware, behavioral economics, the whole shebang. But it was all designed to produce a simple, clear, black and white piece of paper that works for a guy on the side of the road. It really makes you wonder, in our super complex world, is the most powerful solution sometimes a high-tech system that's built to produce a brilliantly low-tech answer?